This is a really good question, and it's a response to one of my posts, and I really like this question, so I want to make a quick video on it. My whole point in this is that to run more effective Amazon advertising in today's world, it's not about the tactics. Everybody wants to know the tactics. Everybody wants to know, like, what is the, best possible campaign? What's going to get me the low ACoS? How do I set up ranking campaigns? All of those things are needed. I'm not saying now, if you don't know how to do those things, then definitely you have a problem. You need somebody on your team or, an agency, shameless plug, it's our Junglr, to like run those playbooks, right? But it's not really about the tactics. And so that was the example of this post. Meaning, so example one is saying like, oh, we found a whole bunch of searches that we're not targeting. We need to launch a bunch of new campaigns. That's tactics, right? Good practice. But strategy is knowing, hey, this product is running low on stock and we shouldn't really launch any more campaigns right now, right? Or this keyword has really high ACoS, so we need to lower the bid. A strategy would be saying, this is a ranking keyword for us. We shouldn't pull back because that's really going to hurt our objectives. And so, Amar had a really good question on, okay, so you're telling me everything stems from goals and I need to have strategy and not tactics. Tactics are the how, the hows and the whats. Strategy is the where am I now? Where am I going? What is the best path to get there? And to really drive that path and really figure out a good strategy, that needs to start with a goal. But Amar's question was, all right, so if I need to start with a goal, like how am I defining that goal? And so the goals really should be set by the account owner or the brand manager. That's something you need to get from your brand. And that is something that we are really, really adamant with all of the brands that we work with. We need to know what we're driving to. The goal cannot be lower ACoS. That is not a helpful goal. Lower ACoS by 10 points is a reasonable and actionable goal, because the thing is, if you don't have a very concrete and a measurable goal, you're not going to be able to know when you win. And what's going to happen is you or your team is going to continuously move that goalpost and say like, okay, we got to drive it down. Well, if we've already driven it down 10 points and the quote lowering ACoS goal is actually going to hurt total sales, that's where you have a problem. So there's actually two goals that we found to be the most helpful when it comes to determining the ad strategy. And that's two things, and you can throw a third one in there, but I would honestly almost just ignore the third one. First one is sales goals. What do you see as good? How do you know that you've achieved it? For some brands, sales goals are because they're Rickroll and they have a really fleshed out catalog. They have a lot of good legacy products. So good for them is about a 10% year over year increase. You want to know what the actual goal you're driving to, and you want to know how you're measuring those goals. For example, one brand may say, I want a 10% increase, but they're measuring it versus the last month. And then another brand is saying, I want a 10% increase, but I'm looking at same month last year or year to date or something along those lines. You want to make sure you have clear alignment on what those goals are and how you're going to measure those goals. And if you don't lock that in, you're not going to be looking at the same thing. You're going to be thinking that you're hitting the goals, but if you're not using the same measuring stick, there's no alignment there. They're going to think you're failing, you're going to think you're winning, and so you're not going to push hard enough, and they're going to be dissatisfied with the results. Again, it's about communication. So that's the one thing. And then it's your job as the account manager to say, hey, I knew you wanted a 20% year over year increase, but we've actually had the bestseller got us stock several times, and so that's a hindrance to goal. Then the conversation becomes, how is this goal achievable? What are the potential roadblocks? Has the main product taken a hit in terms of conversion rate? Is there optimizations that need to be done? Those conversations can be had, but unless you know where you're going, what you're measuring towards, you're not going to be able to figure out that. So a lot of times, this is just it's a conversation that often you have to lean into. Some brands, the best brands, come in knowing 100% what it is that they're looking to achieve. They have very clear definitions of where they're going, and they just lack the strategy. They might have the tactics, but they lack the strategy to get there. And so they're looking for that person. So in that case, you just ask them and they'll be able to tell you. There are other brands, and through no fault of their own, they're just really struggling to kind of figure out what those goals are. They're not really sure what's achievable. You have to know how to ask the right questions, and you have to continue to ask the same questions in a different manner to be able to get just a really concrete answer for them. So a question might be like, hey, what are you looking to achieve? Oh, I want to grow sales. Okay, cool. Like, how much do you want to grow sales? Oh, honestly, I have no idea. I just want to grow. Oh, okay, cool. Curious, because some brands I talk to, they say like, oh, they'd be happy with the 10%. Some brands are looking to double. So, I mean, in kind of that realm, are you looking for more aggressive growth? Well, no, because I've been having some stocking issues, so I can't really afford to be aggressive right now. Oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. In terms of that stock, what kind of growth do you feel like your brand could support? Oh, I feel like I maybe could support like a 5% growth right now, and then maybe, later on in the year, we could do like a 10 or 15% growth. We can get more aggressive when we've fleshed out that supply chain. Oh, okay, cool. So now I know 5% now, 10 to 15% later, right? So it's that ongoing conversation and really just digging in, and they'll inevitably say like, oh, we have these products that do this and these products that do that, and that's where it gets really interesting, because the best goal strategy is going to be setting up goals on an individual product level, at the very least bucketing products. So you can have like, these are my launch products, these are my legacy products, these are my other products that I needed to test. The performance hasn't been those great. Typically speaking, you'll have about 3 to 4 buckets per campaign or per account anyways. All right, so I showed you the first goal, right? Sales goal, huge. Second thing you need to know is the total ACoS goal. I didn't say ACoS goal, I said total ACoS goal. Why is this? This is because it helps you backtrack your ad strategy into profitability, and it also allows you flexibility in the ad strategy when something is potentially above ACoS goals, but if you pull back on it too much, you're actually going to hurt the total sales growth. And so that's why you need sales growth. You need something to benchmark against, and then you need total ACoS. Total ACoS is going to pull back into your budget. So as you grow the total sales of the account, as you grow the total sales of the product, your budget can sort of come up to meet those. Now, there are some enterprise brands that have very hard and fast budget rules, and those are things you have to work within. But typically speaking, most of the brands that we work with tend to have a little bit dynamic, and they're wanting to make sure that we're not leaving money on the table. We're not leaving sales on the table, and total ACoS goals allow you to do that. How do you set total ACoS goals? You want to benchmark it against what your profit margins are. So what kind of profit margins do you want to end up at the end of the day? If you have 30% profit margins and you're okay with a 15% profit margin at the end of the day, 30 minus 15 is 15%. We have a 15% total ACoS goal. Now, this is the way that we typically do it. Most times we'll have an overall account ACoS of, say, 10%, right? So we would prefer to be around 10 to 12%. But this particular product has a flexibility of going up to a 15% total ACoS, providing we are tapping into long-term potential sales to do that. Great. So it's not like we're going to try to run the entire account at a 15%, but we know we have that about 3 points of flexibility in the ad budget to be able to push for that sales growth. So you see how these two things really work in tandem together? The total account growth goals tell you what are we looking to push towards. The total ACoS goals give you that constraint of, yeah, we can push towards sales, but that doesn't mean we want to go past any sort of profitability metrics. And then if you're seeing any issues in the total sales goals, market share issues, conversion rate issues, or other things that are constraining the goal, then you have that conversation. Maybe we need to adjust goals here, and that's where you come in as the strategic partner. Now, on the flip side, if you have a constraint on the total ACoS, maybe cost per clicks go up all of a sudden. Maybe there's a whole bunch more testing that you feel like you could do, and maybe there's potential in the account because that's going to push the total ACoS numbers a little bit higher. Then we have the conversation around that. But you see how that conversation is much, much more strategic, how these two things work in tandem to help grow the account, and how these two things can be flexible given that the account manager has the right understanding and the right skill level to be able to sort of drive that sort of growth in the account. But that has been a game changer for us. So total sales goals and then total ACoS goals. Notice I didn't even mention an ACoS goal. Now, I'm not saying that we want to completely drive the account into unprofitability. I'm not saying that. We do want to benchmark total ACoS goal. Most times this is ACoS is equivalent to the break-even ACoS, which would be the accounts or the product's profit margin. Again, when you can start setting goals at a per product level, or at the very least bucketing your account to say these products have these set goals, these products have these set goals, just in larger complicated accounts, it makes it a little bit easier to bucket things. And ACoS is something you definitely want to take into account. But the thing is that continuously chasing a target ACoS will actually cause you to lose market share. The reason being is because cost per clicks are increasing, and if you don't have that flexibility, then you will not be able to drive the growth that the brand is looking for. It takes a good account manager to know how to navigate those things. But again, so if the account is growing in sales and we're hitting total ACoS, meaning we have our profitability and we have our sales growth, then I'm a little bit, most brands, at least the brands that we work with, because they know what it takes to play the game. They're long-term strategic thinkers. Again, they're just looking for that ad strategist who's going to help them get on that path that they need to towards goals. They understand that there's oftentimes where you can give up profitability on advertising sales, but that will lead to more profitability, greater profitability in just the total account. And so that's the dynamic that you're looking to do, is when the game gets a little bit more sophisticated, you find a more sophisticated way to play that game. And the way you play that game is sales goals, total ACoS goals, an account manager who knows what the heck they're doing and how to adjust ads for this new incremental and strategic dynamic.